What is up, everybody? It's your boy Phil Shocker, the Nasty Ted Jug here, and we are here for the Jjdl playoff talk. Basically, if you guys don't know, my good friend John Jr., aka John Jr., Johnny Boy, he was actually doing watch-alongs and stuff like that for his league, being the JDDL, which we are a part of. But unfortunately, real life got busy with his job, his content creation, and also taking care of his family. He just was starting to get super burnt out of everything, and unfortunately, about close to halfway through the season, he had to stop doing his watch alongs, which was very respectable and understanding. And I know John would love to do like watch alongs and stuff like this for the playoffs, but he's probably not going to be able to. So I figured I'd take it upon myself, and I figured the fans would love this too. But we are going to talk. We're going to do playoff talking, and we're going to do these games. We are going to kind of do the games by league, at least for the first round of playoffs, and then maybe when semifinals come around, then we'll watch all the semifinals for all the divisions in one video. That way, this video plus the first round of playoff videos can have their own separate videos for each division, and then like the last two videos of the season we can do for the semifinals and finals. But if you guys are excited to see what the playoffs are looking, definitely hit the like button down below. Show support for your favorite coach that's going to the playoffs this season. And with that being said, let's get into this video. So real quick, we are going to talk about the Toenail, aka the Tornadus division, aka the best division. To all my toenail people out there, I got you boys and girls. I got you. I got you. But again, I'm going to talk about each individual division for the playoff rankings. That way the video is not incredibly too long, and that way there's more focused onto this video. And there's another reason why I decided to do this division first, because one, I'm in this division, so I might as well get it out of the way. And two, again, best division. And three, there's actually a bit of a high stakes part in this matchup because our 8 seeds are not configured. I believe we have a shot at potentially either the 7, 8 being swapped around potentially because there's one game left of the season that is not played, and that is where the coach of the DC Dinglings or Digatons, whatever, I think it's Digatons, will be taking on the coach of the Copenhagen Mirages in Alphon. That matchup alone determines who will be getting the 8th seed and potentially 7th seed, depending on how games can go. So there is everything else. I do think everything from 1 through 6, though, is 100% locked. There is no way around that. But potential shifting in 7 and 8 could play a factor into the matchup. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to discuss the teams that can potentially be going to the playoffs. I mean, 1 through 6 is guaranteed regardless. So 3 and 6 and 4 and 5 matchups, I believe. Actually, the 4 and 5 matchup could be affected in some way. Actually, now I think so. I'm not going to talk about any matchups at all, just to get that out of there. We're just going to talk about each team individually and going to go from there. So the 10 teams. There's 10 teams in this playoff hunt right now. 2 of them will be eliminated by after this game. So obviously we have me as number 1 seed going to this league, and we had a massive redemption arc last season. We were just close to making playoffs. We had a really great team, but just got unlucky in some of the situations. Now, if it wasn't for John, I have an undefeated season. So take John. I hate you, but hey, I beat you in the rankings though. I'll take that though. Obviously, we got John here, number 2. No surprise to me. John's a fantastic player. He's been having an absolute stacked team. Like, I think he's been really enjoying this team. We have Brother Yubby, who also became a mod for JGL, so shoutouts to him. For the Boston Red Skies, the Tennessee Volcaronos, which we have Coach Chef. We have LeBron Jamalas for the DC Dingletons, if they do still stay in the playoff hunts. We have the Lisbon Air Slashers, coached by Pay. We have Scran, coach of the Chicago Urshifoos. We have Coach Smortine. I'm sorry if I'm butchering the name, by the German Goats. We have Bash and the Nicki Minaj Sandacondas. And we do have Alphon, coach of the Copenhagen Rogers. Now, I'm not skipping out on the Webster and Weedile, so I don't know who the coach is, because this does not affect them in any situation. It mostly will, again, affect potentially Bash, Alphon, and, of course, Smorte in this, and again, potentially Scran on determining factors. But I think Scran's still more likely safe. So, we're going to talk about these 10 teams, kind of go over what their teams are, and exactly if, some of these teams that make it the playoffs, what can you expect. Obviously, through like at least for sure the top 4, you're already going to know what the kind of teams are going to look for. So let's go ahead and just talk about these teams real quick here. So if Alphon is into this game, is in this playoff matchups, Here's what his team is. It's the same as it was before with Dragapult, Iron Tread, Samurott, Hisui, Espeon, Leafeon, Talonflame, Toxtricity, Espathra, Clefty, Blissey, Girder, with Terra Captains being Espeon, Leafeon, with Fairy Fire and Fire Steel. Like I said against Alphon, his team is insanely hard to counter. I think I got definitely really lucky on a 50-50 with the Samurott, and again, that roll on the Espeon. Now, could I still would have won the game? It would have been possible if he was more in Sun Espeon. There definitely could have been a chance I could not have probably won that game, but I think I still would have won the game with Clodsire in the back and a few other pieces. But again, it's a there woulda, coulda, shoulda type of thing, so you never know, right? So, but I do think this team is, if it does make playoffs, is definitely going to be a team that needs to be like not underestimated. Alphon played amazing against me. He was a very, really good battler in that game. And I am a little bit pulling for him to beat the playoffs because I think he deserves a shot after, trying to make it back after, rough loss and everything. And I'm hoping he's going to be able to pull it off, man. Up next, we have another potential playoff contender in Bash. And Bash's team it's pretty, I don't know what to say about it. It's a really weird team. He has Ursaluna, Blood Moon, Enamorus, Incarnate, Komodo, which I think can Clangorous Soul. I'm not 100% positive. We have Ceruledge, Corviknight, Mew, Inteleon, Lurantis, Breloom, Toxapex, and Morgrem, with Terra Captains being the Inteleon, Lurantis, and Morgrem, with Grass Electric, Electric Dark, and Fire Steel. Electric Dark, don't understand the Dark one, but I can kind of, maybe okay. Inteleon, Electric, and Grass, very weird, but alright. And Fire Steel, it's a Morgrem. This team from Bash is very weird. I love Blood Moon. You guys know I've been loving that thing in the CPL. And Amherst Incarnate is actually a pretty good, viable Pokemon, very strong offensively. If Clanger Soul is allowed on Komodo, this thing's going to be a menace. He's such a good top 3 right here. And if it's not, it's still a phenomenal Pokemon. Ceruledge with access to Poltergeist is such an amazing ghost type that has really hard switch-ins that bases force specific prep. Corviknight, really good defensive mon. Mew is just a jack of all trades. You can do anything. A Terra and Inteleon actually can hit pretty damn hard. Same with Lurantis. Don't sleep on the offensive capabilities of Lurantis. This thing can do a lot of work. Breloom's a little annoying, but it's not like the most threatening thing out there, but it's a good Pokemon. Toxapex is a Toxapex, and Morgrem's a Screens, yeah. If Bash does make playoffs, this is definitely going to be a team that I possibly will be potentially facing, and I don't know how I feel about the matchup just yet. I need to kind of look into actually more in terms of when I actually start to officially prep for this game. But he has got some major threats, and he has a really good team. I feel like I definitely think his team has a lot of versatility and a little bit of different role compaction they can do. So it's definitely going to be a team that if it is in the playoffs, it's going to be a team to look out for. Up next, we got Pei, and I believe Pei's team has not changed since last time we fought. He has Palafin, Landorus, Therian, Weavile, Hatterene, Magnezone, Conkeldurr, Delphox, Grafaiai, Thwackey, Altaria, and Dunsparce. And his Terra Captives being the Grafaiai and Thwackey with Ghost Ground and Stale Fire. Now, last time when I took on Pei, I think we played very, very good. Um, he definitely just made the one mistake in forgetting that Aqua Jet was a thing I could have potentially have been on my Urshifu. Even then, without that change, it could have definitely gone off 50-50 on who would have won the game there. Definitely think if we rematch, he might have a slight advantage in this one because they don't have Zork and Dragonite really anymore that were kind of actually pretty good mods into his team. So it's definitely gonna be one of those matchups that I'm gonna have to be, if it's a rematch potentially in the future, whether it's playoffs or semifinals, I have to be very careful of this matchup because I do think Pei has some of the best hyper offensive mons on his team, and he does have those slept on threats. Do not sleep on Grafaiai. I proved why you don't sleep on that Pokemon. You can sleep on the Altaria. Altaria sucks. But also sleep on the Dunsparce. Dunsparce is an amazing mon. Absolutely love that Behemoth. He is such a good Pokemon. And then again, Weavile, Lando, and Palafin. Those 3 alone are just super, bring every single game you cannot go wrong type of situation. So, very much a threatening team. And he does have a good chance to win this season, I feel like, because this is a very stacked team, in my personal opinion. Up next, we got John here with Monkey Dory, Iron Bundle, Tingaloo, Cinderace, Scizor, Azumarill, Iron Hands, Garganacl, and a Reverum with also a Lumineon, but Lumineon is irrelevant. Don't even think about that Pokemon. And Terra Captain being Reverum with Fire and Flying. I definitely think John has a good chance to win his league this season, just because John's team it's definitely well rounded. Definitely John's biggest problem is that he does not have any hazard removal at all, I believe, unless he sort of does a defog, and I'm just blanking on that for some reason. But otherwise, John's team is very much, hazard weak, But John has proven that his team can definitely fight around hazards. It's definitely been a really hard team to prep for. I could have beaten this team of loaded dice. Wasn't. I'm sorry. Bad flashbacks. But anyways, I definitely think John has been really using this team, and I think he's been really enjoying Bundle. I don't think he's ever going to admit it, but I think he's been really enjoying Bundle. Bundles has been like one of his best, if not his best, mons. I can definitely tell he's been enjoying Cinderace and Iron Hands. Iron Hands has been really popping off for him. I can definitely tell he's been wanting to try that mon for so long, so I'm really happy he got to see the truth about Iron Hands. So, but John, again, another team that I think has a chance to win the league. It's just a super good. It's just a super good team. If I rematch John, I'm not gonna lie, I'll be a little nervous for this one, and it really kind of does suck because, like I said in the video, guys, I actually knew exactly what John was pretty much bringing. The Bandit Cinderace was a little bit different, but I pretty much knew just about everything. I mean, also no booster on bundle, so it was kind of shocking. But again, like I pretty much knew John's exact team, except that he did want to bring the Iron Hands in this matchup, but I do think if I rematch him, though, I do have a chance to make a comeback match against him because I do think I've known John for so well. I think I know how he plays and everything. So, John, if we meet in semis or finals, man, I'm getting my revenge. I'm getting that first win. I'm gonna get that first win eventually, man. But John, also, if he wins, it's just really great because he's a talented player, man. He's really, really great, and it would be nice to see the owner win his own league. That's always a good thing, right? Up next, we have Brother Yubby here with the Boston Red Skies. They have Iron Violent, Chi-Yu, Slowking, Ogerpon, Gomora, Articuno, Fortress, Mamoswine, Palmont, the Alolan Golem, and Volbeat. With Terra Captains being the Articuno, Alolan Golem, and Volbeat with Water and Ground, Grass and Ground, and Electric and Fairy. First off, Volbeat, irrelevant. We're not even talking about that Pokemon. Everything else has some very good viability in this team. I do think it's a pretty interesting team here. It has really like no hazards besides Glamora and Fortress, in my opinion, as your only main form of hazards, which is not a terrible thing. It's not great. It's not like a worst thing. Like Glamora is fantastic in that role. Fortress is fantastic. But I want to see Brother really pull off with some more offensive Glamora in team matchups because I think people keep sleeping on this thing being offensive. It is such a good offensive bond. Specs, rock polish, offensive, under screens for weakness policy like John pulled off in the BBR a few seasons back. This is a mon you do not sleep on. You always go in that mindset of it being just a hazard mon, but this is one of those slept on mons. If you're not careful, will beat you. I also think he has some pretty cool momentum in a lot of his team. I'm a big fan of the Terra Articuno. Massive fan. Definitely want to try that thing with Terra. I really want to use that Pokemon so badly. Otherwise, I think he's got such a really good team. A couple of duplicate typings across the board, but having duplicate typings, especially if they're Terra typings, though, aren't really the greatest thing. I do think it's kind of cool to have an Alolan Golem with Galvanize, with having access to coverage to beat opposing typings that you don't really have. Like you can be Ground, be able to take the hit, and then be able to KO a Water type with Galvanize attacks while being Terra Ground, which I think is really cool. Overall, I do think this team's got some potential. I don't know really about Brothers' team composition because I've never faced them or ever seen them probably in my life here. But I do think they have a really cool team. It's definitely really diverse in a very much unique way. And maybe this new way that he's taking the approach for is going to really come out and shock everyone. So they could definitely be a team. If you sleep on them, they're going to knock you out of the playoffs. So definitely be on the lookout for this team. Up next, we have Smart Team. Real quick here. Their team is Galarian Slowking, Glasgow, Infernape, Hoopum Bound, Jolteon, Tinkaton, Alamola, Zarude, Salamence, Frostlass, and Quaxwell, with Terra Captains being the Jolteon and Quaxwell with Ice and Fairy and Steel and Fairy. We're gonna ignore the Quaxwell, even though we got one kill. We won't talk about that. Otherwise, this team very hazard weak. It is insanely hazard weak if you do not count Rapid Spin on Quaxwell, which we will not. And I think that's gonna be the one downfall of Sporty's team if he does get in. Is definitely the teams are gonna try to primarily get those spikes and Stealth Rocks up immediately on his team. So he definitely has to be very careful about that. I'm the massive fan and supporter of Terra Jolteon. That mon is the truth and is better than Bolton. Don't listen to Trexo. But it's kind of unique though, this team. I think it's got some unique momentum with things like potential Trick Room with some other pieces right there. And it's got decent enough momentum with U-turn, flip turn. baton pass, chilling reception. You know, I also love Hoopa. Hoopa Unbound is one of my favorite underrated mons. It is such a great mon. And Burnape, always a massive fan. Tinkaton kind of sucks, not gonna lie. I'm sorry. Alamo, that's just a fish. Zarude, massive fan of that mon. That is such a slept on mon. I feel like no one's really giving that thing as much recognition as it deserves. Salamence is also a really good dragon. If Smarty doesn't make it in, I definitely think he has yet another one of those sleeper teams. I think you might not think it's too scary or in prep, but then once you eventually start prepping for the team, it's going to be a lot more harder to beat and deal with than you think it already is. So I think that he's got a really good team. It's going to be really interesting to see how well, if he does make playoffs, to see how he's going to do against everyone. So definitely looking forward to a potential match against them. Up next, we have LeBron Jahames. I'm sorry if I'm butchering that name completely wrong. And I think we have all three of the rest of the teams. Yes, I believe we have all three of the rest of the teams that we need to talk about. So we're going to talk about the DC Dingletons here first. We have Pineco. I kid you not, Pinecone. Roaring Moon, Clefable, Landorus, Hisuian Electrode, Earthworm, Galar Slowbro, Moltres, Vaporeon, Mienshao, and Crawdon, with Terra Captains being the Pinecone for some reason and the Hisuian Electrode, Normal and Ghost with Ice and Fairy. This team, it's kind of all over the place. It's weird synergy in some ways. But I love Rory Moon. People say Rory Moon's only good with Terra. I don't believe you. I've gotten this thing to have 15 plus kills. 2 times I've only used this thing. I'm just good at using this Pokemon. So if all of you can't use it, then you're all the ones that can't do it. I'm just joking about that. I'm just joking. I'm not being serious. But I'm also a massive fan of Clefable. There's Lanad right there. My boy Lanad. I love the go to Hisuian Electro pick. It's definitely a good Terra Captain. My boy Earthworm Jim. Do not sleep on that guy. Galar Slowbro, he kind of sucks. Moltres, don't sleep on that Pokemon. Underrated Pokemon. Such a good Pokemon. Vaporeon, eh. Mienshao, definitely a good mon. I love Mienshao. It's really good. And then adaptability Crawdon is definitely something you should never, ever sleep on in prep. Because even though, yeah, Dragon Answers won't outspeed certain things or maybe get to certain speed creeps, banded hits from this thing when you have to switch in a Pokemon and then it can late game clean up with Aqua Jet spam is really scary. So I definitely think, even though he does have a Pinecone on his team, do not sleep on what this team can do. I definitely think this team has very good synergy around its cores. You know, a good decent amount of hazard setters, even though there's not too many on there. Great momentum pieces with U-turn, Volt Switch, Baton Pass, and such. And just great offense, great bulk, and it's definitely gonna be one of those teams that's gonna be really hard to beat, especially if they do make the playoffs. So definitely something there. Up next, we have Scran here, which I think he realistically will make playoffs. I'm not going to be 100% on it yet until we see the results from the game, but it is my best bet that he might be. But his team is Garchomp, Manaphy, Okidoki, Florges, Volcarona, the Decidueye, Slowbro, Rabombi, Ampharos, Kamala, and Azelf, with Terra Captains being the Florges in Ampharos with Steel Ground and Fairy Dragon. I'm still salty about that snipe on Florges. But overall, I love Scran's team. Scran's team has a lot of things that I have used and loved, and I actually have currently on my team in other leagues. Like I have Manaphy, Okidoki, Ampharos, and Kamala on my PBL team, which is a Wi-Fi league that I'm not uploading because I don't upload stuff for Wi-Fi. And then I have Manaphy, Florges on my UNPL D League team. So me and Scran are thinking of the good stuff right here. But in all seriousness, though, Scran's team's really, really good. I don't really think it's a weak peak. I think Terra Ampharos is definitely a slept on thing. I do think that one thing he's going to have the hardest time to deal with is definitely hazards, but even if Decidueye is the more reliant mon to be always brought for hazard, it's not a bad mon to be defensively to bring in hazard removal, so it's not really bad. Garchomp's really great this generation. Manaphy is a massive threat as it always is, because you can just run defensive Manaphy and run Tail Glow and just sweep. That's what I've been so much loving about Manaphy, because I used to run Manaphy over super fast and then really hit offensively hard. Now I've been gotten to the point where I love running defensive Manaphy with this setup set, and because it takes hits for days and then just can revenge everything. So love this team. I think it's a really great team. I think Scran's got a sleeper, kind of a sleeper in a couple of things, but he has very hidden things. Like if you don't have any way to remove hazards with Rombi on your team, you might as well just say GG or find some way to play around like Bandit and Specs Pokemon on your opponent's roster. Just because this Pokemon is going to be insanely hard to beat if webs get on your side of the field. And also, just love how the team is. The team is really great. I personally would have gone with Terra Rabombi if you were going to go for that one instead, because I think Terra Rabombi is a menace to society. But they didn't go for it, so that's fine. But overall, this is a really solid team. I really like this team, and Scranton's definitely got a best chance to win this as well. Really, really good team. And the last team that we are going to talk about today is going to be Chef, because he's going to be cooking up some W's with this team of his that also has a missing blank space needs to get Gabite for some reason. But we have Spectre, Great Tusk, Zapdos, King Gambit, Milotic, Galawazing, Arcanine, Tauros, Yuxi, Chimecho, and Gabite, with Terra captains being Tauros, Chimecho, and Gabite, with Normal and Fairy, Fairy Fighting, Steel, and Dragon. This team, Spectre, has one of the best support pieces that you can ever ask for in the Great Tusk. It is one of the best counters to a lot of the Darks and Normals out there, as most Darks and Normals are physically offensive versus especially offensive. Then you got a great on in Zapdos, a great support piece in King Game, which can pair really well with Spectre as well. Milotic, one of the best defensive water types in the entire game. Galarazi, which kind of sucks, but it's okay. Arcanine, I've kind of realized is not that great of a Pokemon, but under the right hands, it's really good. Tauros is a slept-on menace. People didn't think Tauros would be good, and I think I coached something with Terra Normal. Excuse me, Terra Normal on my floor on my Tauros during my first JGL speed tour that I was doing. Tauros is a menace with Terra. I think it's one of the more broken monsters that gets allowed with Terra, in my opinion, just because of that sheer force, life orb, body slam offense. My God, that's disgusting. Uxie, a really good defensive piece that could really pair off one team. Chimecho, you also saw the power Chimecho can do against me, especially since I let it kind of happen, and I also got a little unlucky and not calculating the damage output versus some stuff that I could have done. But Chimecho actually could be a really good low tier threat if not used correct, if it's used correctly. And Gabite is actually could be a low key threat if it's set up correctly in the right position to win, and can just be able to just do work. So yeah, that's going to be the teams that are going to potentially go for playoffs. Like I said, guys, again, the 7-8 seed is up to grabs between, I would say, 3 to 4 people. So it's going to really be coming down to it. Again, I'm not doing playoff matches because otherwise I'll probably do like playoff matches and stuff like that But I also might just go over the teams like I did this one, just because it makes more sense just to go over them. If you guys want me to talk about matchups, I can do matchups as well. But I think just for right now, especially this Toenail division right now, aka the Tornadus one, we're just gonna do this for right now. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching. If you made it through the entirety of the video, definitely put down hashtag Tornadus, because that's the best division in the season. But with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. I hope that even though I'm not John, you guys got a kind of cool insight video for Jydl. And for all the Jydl fans that were looking for videos like this, or anything like that, I hope you guys can get entertained by this. I'm sure John will definitely want to try his best next time to do these watch-alongs and stuff. Hopefully when he's less busy, and hopefully he has more time on his hands. But with that being said, though, thank you all so much for watching. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. And until next time, guys, I'll see you guys later. Peace.